This is a mini tutorial to show you how to add and delete runs in Design Expert and Statis 360. In the software, once you have a data file loaded, you can add additional runs to your design by right-clicking on the gray square to the left of any row. Choose Insert Row, and then you can choose either before or after this row. There is also an option to duplicate any row. Let me demonstrate this. I have a design open here, and I want to add some additional runs to the bottom of this design. So I am going to scroll to the bottom, and I am going to right-click on this bottom row, and I am going to insert after this row. And so you can see that there is a row here. I can start adding some values in, and you can see that it's lined out. It'll stay lined out until I get all of the information in, and then it will unline. And so let me get it in factor 5. And so now you can see once I've gotten all 5 factors inserted, then it unlines. Then I could run that and I could put in the additional information. If you have a center point and you want to add additional center points, that would be one reason to duplicate. I can find my center points here by looking at the space point type. So here is a center point, and I could choose to duplicate that. And it would just add another run in. Now, I mean, you want to be smart about where you're doing this. You probably want to put these down at the bottom, and you can edit the run numbers so these would actually be done last rather than right in the middle here, but you can figure that out. You can also delete data in the same way. You can do a right click and choose to delete rows. But I want to caution you that deleting data is a permanent thing. And there is another option that we like people to think about, which is simply setting the row status to ignore. Now, ignoring a row removes the row from the analysis, treats it just like a delete, but you can add it back in later on by setting it back to a normal status. So let me show you that. So I'm actually going to delete these center rows that I added before. So I'm going to delete and right click, delete. So that's fine. And I think I will delete this bottom one too. Let's just say that we had a concern about a particular row. It was maybe showing up as an outlier, and we wanted to try analyzing without that row. We can right-click and set the row status to ignore. That draws a line through that row, and it will ignore it from the analysis. If you only want to ignore just a particular response, like maybe 2 of these responses were just fine, but the third response, there was a problem with analyzing that, and so you just want to ignore that one value, you can also right-click on a cell and set that one cell to ignore. That will leave that row in there, and so my other 2 responses will remain good, but the last response, that one cell then would be ignored. And again, this is a toggle, so you can ignore it temporarily, and then you can put it back in. So really a great alternative to actually deleting rows. Once you have made significant changes to the design, I highly suggest going to Design Evaluation, under the information section to check out the aliasing, perhaps look at the layout of the design points in the design space, etc. So, double check that you haven't deleted any rows that are super important, from a statistics standpoint. If you need more information on how to do any of your DOEs, we highly recommend going to our Statties YouTube channel, Statistics Made Easy by Statties, and look at the various playlists. The academic corner is filled with things for people who are newer to DOE, but there are other playlists that are also highly recommended. Thank you for listening. If you do have further questions, you can email stathelp@statties.com.